So many wrestling games come out. Where did this come from? Hello and welcome to FTTR, I'm Hugh McQuaid, and today I'm giving you my first thoughts, my review if you will, of Action Arcade Wrestling. Now Action Arcade Wrestling is a game that I got on PlayStation 4 from the PlayStation Store, obviously, and it is developed by VICO Game Studio, published by Reverb Triple XP, sorry. And it is basically an arcadey form of like professional wrestling, because of course it is. Now this game sort of follows in the mould of, I would say, Wrestling Empire. There's a little bit of Fire Pro in there, and there's a lot of sort of Retromania feel in this. But overall as a package, I think this is very well worth your time. Now, why would I say that? Well, first of all, it's early in the morning. First of all, we'll talk about the graphics. Now the graphics sort of use this cel-shaded look. It's very similar to the Walking Dead games from Telltale, or for some reason jogged in my mind, the Simpsons game that came out with the Simpsons movie. That sort of style. There you go, look at it. And it's really bright, it really sort of gives you the 80s vibe, more so than I'd say than sort of Wrestling Empire did. Wrestling Empire is sort of like a gritty arcade wrestling that sort of recreates the feel of the N64 games. This feels really modern and really sort of anime in the look, and I think it looks brilliant. I think it's one of the coolest looking wrestling games I've seen in a long time. And of course it doesn't come with a licensed roster, it comes with sort of pre-made characters that you can look through and you can choose, and you can have all sorts of matches. There's a lot of match types in here. Granted, there aren't things like steel cage or something like that, but there is a lot of variation. There's 4-way elimination, 4-way tag, 5 versus 5, battle royals, royal rumbles. It's a really cool brawler in that respect. There's a lot of cool matches in there, and maybe there's a steel cage, I just haven't found it yet. I'm not sure. You can use weapons, you can use a chair. Big thumbs up. And it's really cool in that respect. I think there's a lot of matches and match times that you can have here, and you can sort of waste away a few hours playing these match types. However, I think the big key with this game, like most wrestling games, but I think specifically with Action Arcade Wrestling for me, is the online creation suite. Now, this gives, granted I haven't created anything because I don't consider myself great at creating wrestlers. I tried many times on the SmackDown vs Raw games and I'm just terrible at it. So I go to the community creations, and that's what it first takes you to when you go in to manage your superstars, and you've got, I think, 300 slots for arenas, I think belts and wrestlers that you can download. And there's some really good ones, like the likenesses are actually really good. You can get a lot of detail on these people. Take, for instance, I've got a few AEW wrestlers. I've got Kenny Omega, John Moxley, Darby Allin. And you can get the moves, you can do move sets as well. It's not like Kenny Omega doesn't do a one-winged angel per se. He does sort of a Michinoku driver, but you get what you want from those characters, and the arenas look really good as well. The arenas are really detailed, like the AEW arena looks really good, AEW Dark looks really good, there's an ECW arena that I've got downloaded. They all look really cool, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this game, is the creation suite for me is something that I will go back to and I will keep playing, and I would recommend for anyone who's a wrestling fan. Now, where this sort of falls down for me, Action Arcade Wrestling, granted it was about £10 on the PlayStation Store. There's not a lot of sort of mainline content yet. It does say that Arcade is coming very soon, Arcade, the sort of tower mode, but from the base purchase that I've got, there isn't a story or a career or anything like that. There's just exhibition, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think you can get a lot out of these matches if you want to sort of tell your own stories, play out your own stories in your head. But it is nice sort of how Retromania had the quest for the NWA Championship. This sort of needs that, and it's not out yet, so I can't really critique it in that respect. They're probably going to add it to the game later. But that is just the one downfall, is that it's a bit bare bones in terms of actual content, like working towards things like career modes and stuff like that. It's just an exhibition game. It works fine, it's really stellar, but it just needs that little bit more of a drive, for me personally. Like, I really love the style of the wrestler. I can't get over how cool I think the wrestlers look. They look anime mixed with the Simpsons game, yeah, basically. And I think that's really cool. I really, really love the design of this, and I really love the aesthetic. But yeah, for me, it's just the content, really. If there was more content in this, I think this would be a really great get for wrestling games at the moment, because the style, the way the game plays, I suppose we can move into the gameplay a little bit, is you've got strong grapples and you've got weak grapples, you've got strikes. The strikes feel really good, actually. And they all sort of blend together really well. If you hit a strike combo, you'll get straight into a grapple, something like that. Top rope moves work really well. Diving moves work really well out in the ring. And I think the gameplay is really solid. Even in multi-man matches, you know, something that's often quite difficult in wrestling games to get the targeting system right. I think the targeting works quite well in this game, actually, in terms of switching when there's 8 people in the ring. It's very hard to whip one of those rumbles from number 1. I have tried. But overall, I think action arcade wrestling is a breath of fresh air and can fill that void of wrestling games that you're probably feeling right now, because there's been no sort of major title for a long time. You've got a lot of the indie games, which is what action arcade is, and it's just really fun. It's a really fun time, especially if you're going to play split screen. There isn't an online mode yet. I don't know if they're adding online play, but just to play a few hours, just get your wrestling fix. I think this is really good. I think it's a really good game, and help support it. Help support indie games. It's an arcade game. Help support this game. It's really great. It's really fun. I would give it a solid 3.75 out of 5. If it just had a little bit more content, I think it'd be up in that 4-star for me. But maybe when it does, I'll probably do a video going forward about what I think of the game in a few months' time. I'm going to do that with a lot of the other games like Retromania and Wrestling Empire at some point. I would recommend you check this out if you are a wrestling game fan. So, have you played action arcade wrestling? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will try and reply to every single one of you. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.